everyone, it's B. I absolutely adore traveling, and I feel like traveling is what has shaped me most into who I am today. For the past, I'd say 4 or 5 years, pretty much all of my income that comes in, I just spent it on tickets and on experiences, which is I feel like what a lot of millennials do. I love to travel nice. I don't like to stay in hostels. I don't like to backpack. It's fun, I did that in India, but I kind of prefer traveling, fake it till you make it style bougie. And I wanted to give my best tips that I collected over the years on how you can travel nicely without spending a lot of money on it. You'd still have to spend money, but just not as much as if you were actually going on tropical resorts with massive hotels and all of that jazz. So let's get into the video. Pick a cheaper destination. There are a lot of countries, especially in Eastern Europe, including my home country Latvia, where you can go without spending that much of your income. Thailand is really cheap. India is incredibly cheap. On my whole trip to India, I feel like apart from the tickets, which are quite expensive, I only spent like 300 euros for 2 weeks, which is for such a trip really nothing. Malaysia and Vietnam are beautiful places to go to that are relatively cheap but are beautiful and tropical. Since this video is actually in collaboration with L'Express, which is my favorite bus company that I usually choose to travel with, if you're going somewhere closer by, an option like L'Express is great because it costs way less than going by plane. It saves you the time of going to airports, which are usually really far off. Bus stations are much closer. And the bus is just amazing. There's coffee there, and there's a TV screen and all of these awesome extras that really make it feel like you're traveling luxury, but at the same time it's more affordable. I've been in the business class of L'Express, which obviously costs way less than plain business class, and it's even nicer than plain business class. And the trip that I filmed this footage on was actually to Vilnius, which is a neighboring country's Lithuania's capital, and that was very lovely. It took around 4 hours to go there, and we had a really fun time. Stay in Airbnbs instead of hotels or hostels. Airbnbs are great, especially if you book them in advance. You can get really cheap deals on beautiful apartments in the very center of the city where you would pay probably the same amount of money and sometimes even less as a hostel, which you have to share a bathroom and all of that, and here you get a whole apartment to yourself. And on the same note, cook in your Airbnb. For example, I would say for a more luxury experience, go out to eat for dinner, but then for breakfast, cook some porridge or have some cereal in your Airbnb because it's gonna save you a lot of money. This might sound absolutely stupid and shallow, but dress the part. If you want to have a luxury experience traveling and pretend you're fake it till you make it bougie, then put some nicer, better kept and ironed clothes on. When I was backpacking through India, it felt nothing like luxury because I was wearing backpacker clothes, like old t-shirts and sweatpant type of things. It's a completely different vibe, and that's fine too, but that's not what this video is about. So if you want to feel nice, then dress nice. Within the city you're traveling, choose to go by foot instead of taking public transportation because it obviously saves you a lot of money, and plus you get to see way more. There's a lot of beautiful things you can notice on foot that you would never notice in a taxi or in a metro, and you get some exercise in. Another quite shallow thing, but this is a term I came up to in Australia, is instead of backpacking, I was suitcasing. Backpacks, you have to carry them on your back. It just feels like you're a donkey or something. And with a suitcase, you immediately feel like there's some weight taken off of your shoulders and you feel more like a luxury traveler. And also it is so much easier to carry when you're going from bus station to bus station or to different airports. Even within the countries that I named in the first point, go to less central cities. If you go to Italy, go to rural Italy instead of just going to Rome or Milan or any of those typical destinations. You get the gist. If you want to travel somewhere but don't know where's cheaper, then go on skyscanner.com, put the dates in and click everywhere, and it's gonna show you all the cheapest tickets you can get to any travel destination, and you can just pick it out on a whim if you don't feel super specific about where you want to go, because it searches all of the best deals all over, all airlines, so you can get surprised by that quite a lot. If you travel during the off season, it might help you save money. For example, when I was going to Australia, I actually went in their winter, which to me honestly still felt like summer because it really wasn't that cold. The tickets are cheaper, it's just easier to travel, and yeah, the weather is gonna be worse, but it really wasn't that bad. In a lot of cities, if you want to go to museums, they might have discounted tickets when it's coming towards the closing time, as well as Don't forget to use your student discounts everywhere you can if you have those, because they can help you save on so many occasions. And if you are a museum geek, then cities like, for example, London and I think Paris for students are absolutely free. So go to as many museums as you can and inhale as much culture as you can. Museums in London are my favorite place to just wander around when I have nothing to do, and you learn so much. Whether it is your bus, your Airbnb, your plane, or anything, this is quite an obvious thing. Book in advance, at least 2 months, 3 months in advance, because the ticket price can go from 100 euros to 500 euros in a matter of a very short time. I'm going to festival in November and I already booked my Airbnb apartment at the end of August, so I got the best deal. There were so many different options, and if you do that later, then there's simply nothing left. Without living in luxury hotels, you can enjoy the luxuries of various hotels. For example, you can book some spas or go to a restaurant within a hotel or use any other of their amenities even if you don't live there, so you can save on living in a hotel but still feel pampered and nice. If you want to travel further distances but do luxury by car instead of taking a train, instead of using Uber, find a cheaper taxi app, because most cities, especially in Europe, have their own taxi applications. For example, I know that this Estonian app Taxify that we use here in Riga, it's all across Europe. Avoid using travel agencies. Do everything yourself. When you already are traveling, don't be afraid to meet new people and make new friends, because a lot of times people who are locals can show you so many fun bars and great places to have food. So just be open, communicate to others, and it might bring you a lot of rewards. If you want to have a nice romantic dinner, instead of going to really expensive restaurants, you could honestly just get wine, some cheese, some grapes, or whatever the hell you want yourself in a shop. Put it all in a nice basket, and I would just really imagine that in Paris. Go to the shore of the river, set up a little picnic, and have a romantic dinner without spending tons and tons of cash. And just generally, money doesn't grow on trees, and before you travel, in order to have the best trip possible, be more frugal at home, do more things in nature, eat at home more, don't eat out, and just try to be more careful about your spendings, because then it's gonna ensure that you have a nicer trip when you do buy those tickets and go somewhere, and it's just gonna give you a better experience. I hope you enjoyed this little video and that was useful and you got some tips for how to travel bougie on a budget. I hope you have a wonderful September, and I will see you all later. Goodbye.